Chewie, let's start with a conversation that we haven't even talked about yet. On the Hui this afternoon, Julian Wilcox did a bit of a deep dive into David Seymour, and this is two parts. One of the academics that David Seymour has smeared with his derangement syndrome tweets has spoken to Julian Wilcox. So let's have a look at that conversation. We start the conversation with a bit of a wrap up of what the story is about, which we kind of all know, but let's get up to date. And then Julian speaks to Dr. George Lakey, I think it is, about the ACT Party and what they're doing at the moment.
It has received official complaints about the Deputy Prime Minister, David Seymour's Victim of the Day social media posts. But the leader of the ACT Party is defending his actions as a bit of fun. The question is it playful or harmful?
Harmful. I vote harmful.
David Seymour has been loud and clear about the Regulatory Standards Bill.
This bill is a crucial piece of legislation for improving the long-term quality of regulation in our country.
But did he cross the line during the submission process?
Yes.
The Deputy Prime Minister has targeted academics that oppose the bill with his Victim of the Day.
And just let me reiterate this.
So shitty.
But remember, this is the David Seymour who anytime the media asks him, he says, we want to start a conversation. And the problem is when someone enters that conversation but disagrees with them, this is the response to them. Now, if you weren't here last week, I've contacted Dame Anne Salmond, and she's basically said, I don't want to come out, put my head above the parapet again. So what David Seymour has done is he's got his way, because Dame Salmond is now withholding communication to the media, well, certainly to us. We're not really the media, based on what all the stuff that's happening around what he's done. So he says, hey, let's have a conversation. She says, well, this is my thoughts and these are what I think. He says, you're a victim and you're deranged. His followers attack her. She removes herself from the conversation. That's the path they're doing, and that's what's happening at the moment. So let's just not ever believe Mr. Seymour when he talks about wanting to have a conversation. The conversation he wants to have is I speak, you listen. That's the conversation that Mr. Seymour wants to have.
Social media posts.
If people want to go out and make completely incorrect statements, then I'm going to get a bit playful and have some fun with them.
Having fun or not, the leader of the ACT Party has singled out MPs and academics, accusing them of suffering from, quote, regulatory standards derangement syndrome.
The only reason I can think of for all these totally factually incorrect statements about the Regulatory Standards Bill is that there's some sort of sinister syndrome out there.
I spoke to one of those academics that was targeted by the Deputy Prime Minister's social media posts, Dr. George Lakey, the Associate Professor for Medical Oncology at the University of Auckland.
It's someone who doesn't know much about the world. Professor of Oncology, Associate Professor, you know, one of those underskilled, underpaid workers we keep talking about. Or maybe someone who knows what he's talking about.
In your role as an associate professor, a public health doctor, a cancer specialist, you've raised concerns about the Regulatory Standards Bill. What are those concerns?
My main concern about it is it puts too narrow a focus in its set of principles about how regulation should be made. It's really trying to make constitutional change for our country sort of through the back door of a majority parliamentary vote.
Do you consider it a part of your job to raise those issues and those concerns publicly and make submissions in this regard?
I think I already make those submissions as a citizen of the country, but the submissions that I make certainly connect with my work in healthcare and my work at the university. And as a university person, of course, it's part of our role to speak out and take part in that side of society. But I would like to think that foremost what I say as a citizen who's involved in our country.
What then do you make of the criticism made by the Deputy Prime Minister, David Seymour, of people like yourself who have made submissions against his bill?
Well, usually when you start having a go at the person, it means that you've actually run out of a serious response to what they have to say. So I thought it's a real shame, in fact. I remember when I was a kid, we had Muldoon who'd come out with that sort of stuff, and I think people got sick of it after a while, but it seems to have come back.
The Deputy Prime Minister, David Seymour, has said that if people want to go out and make completely incorrect statements, that they should be challenged on them. What is your response to that?
Well, challenge me on the statement in that case. You don't have to make a joke about my mental state, for heaven's sake. We can all have a disagreement about things. And I think one of the curious things about ACT is you will find elements of truth in what they say, but the trick that they do is they leave out so much. And really that's what I have in my own submission tried to say is that you need to have a broader set of values for your constitution, for your country. You can't just do it all with dollars and individualism. You have to be thinking about some other parameters.
There you go. That's as much as we're going to hear from tonight. And such a good point and wise words. And I know it sounds a little bit kind of high schoolish, Chewie, but like if you've got nothing to say, nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Or that idea about as soon as ad hominems come out, does it mean you've lost the argument? Well, not always, but if you can't come up with a rebuttal, as the associate professor said, so debate my points. Like, have we heard Seymour do that to any of these people who have made a case against his? For any of those people, have we heard David Seymour make a case? Just a little inside word, we've invited Mr. Seymour on again this weekend and Mr. Luxon again this weekend. Don't expect to hear back. So maybe we need to get him in front of a camera and put these people's premises to him and get him to actually debate it rather than putting up a stupid, pithy, bullying social media post.
Look, hasn't David Seymour lost enough debates recently? Does he really need to lose some more? I would propose, yes, he does, publicly. And I think that's why this is the tactic that he's using, right? It accomplishes so many of the things that he wants to happen. It casts intellectuals in a bad light, something that his followers will just eat up, no matter how many of them actually have university degrees as well. The idea of university academics basically coming forth and offering an opinion based on real world knowledge of the topic. Like, all of these people have extensive background in history and treaty negotiations and Crown Māori relations, the whole works. One of them's won New Zealander of the Year, for fuck's sake. You know, like, these are high caliber people. But he wants to have a crack at those, and he wants to have a crack at the public for doing low quality submissions. So it's very clear that he would rather he just hears for his chosen people, or from no one at all. Please stop interfering with my bill. And what he's doing is definitely, I think it comes under the umbrella of what is it? Stochastic or something like that. Terrorism.
Stochastic. Yeah,
stochastic terrorism. And I mean, because you've got that terrorism word in there, it's a bit like, whoa, am I going too far? But the idea is to not only make the target put their head down back in their trench and not stand up and say, hey, this is wrong, but also to serve as a message for anybody else wanting to do the same or thinking that they should do the same, is that it's just not worth it. And we have seen this tactic be very, very effective. Probably one of the clearest cases would be Dr. Susie Wiles around the COVID stuff.
Yep. Her
life became a living fucking hellhole. Her employer didn't protect her back, and she was an academic that was involved with the University of Auckland. So yeah, if these guys, this army of flying monkeys that David Seymour can unleash in your direction, know that your employer, if you're an academic, possibly won't have your back. Maybe, maybe not. So really, is it worth it? Either way, it achieves what David Seymour wants to happen.
The thing that always frustrates me about undermining academics or undermining scientists or any of that kind of stuff is they're exactly the first people this group of people will go to if they have cancer. You know, it's like, why would you, like, if this academic who spent their life studying this issue is the foremost expert in the country on this issue, and if they're wrong, and the reason they're wrong is they're not sensible, why would you seek source information from this academic or expert who's just spent years doing the same thing, but because they happen to be your doctor? Like, it's like you can't. So, okay, so all of you people who are basically saying poo-pooing the academics because of them being academics, I really hope you're growing lots of roots and leaves so you can look after your own cancer when it kicks in, because surely you have to be consistent and not actually go there when those people say what you should and shouldn't be doing. Just saying.
I mean, do you think David might be panicking a little bit? This seems like a panicked move to me. And maybe it's a panic born of looking at the tally of who's standing up against your bullshit bill. Crown ministries, including his own one, disagree with it.
Yep.
Former treaty negotiators, Chris Finlayson, says it's bullshit. It shouldn't happen. You've got notable academics that have spent a lot of their career looking at Māori and Crown relationships and treaty issues and all of that. Decades of experience, decades upon decades of experience saying that's a bad idea. The public doesn't like it. Your coalition partners are looking pretty shaky on it. People have literally gone into the streets because of an issue related to what you're doing. And it's already been beaten 3 times. So what have you got? This is a dead duck.
When we hear from Duncan last week, Labour MP, who said that Winston was wily, and he said in their agreement that he would agree, or New Zealand First would support a regulatory standards bill, not the or not acts. I do wonder if Mr. Peters is going, as strange as it sounds, is Mr. Peters is going to be the white hat, the hero of the thing by saying, yes, I agree to sign up with I'm not prepared to sign up with that one. Do better. Let's flesh it out. And actually, whether it's just that he wants to be the big swinging dick and go, you might be Deputy Prime Minister now, but I'm still in charge, sonny boy, you've been around for 5 minutes, or whether he has some actual objection to what it may do. It'll be interesting to see. I do also get the sense as well that if there's anyone who's spineless enough to only go with the will of the people, it would be Christopher Luxon. And if Christopher Luxon gets wind of the pushback against this on top of the pushback against the Treaty Principle Bill, and goes, our job now is to solve problems that get us unelected. So in other words, we want to be re-elected. What they may say about this, Luxon may have more trouble than Peters, because Luxon's probably not smart enough to say a bill rather than acts bill. But yeah, it's strange to think that maybe Winston Peters might be the saving grace.
Oh, look, I hate that. I hate it. I hate that we're putting so much hope into fucking Winston and his soupy brain that we're just going to get him on a day that he decides to go, what do I always do? I blow up coalitions and today's the day. And he walks away. I think Luxon sat through the coalition negotiations playing fucking Candy Crush on his phone with a note that says, let me know when I'm Prime Minister. So I've got absolutely zero hope in that. I think the idea that New Zealand First will support an RSB, maybe not this RSB, is even more worrying, because what form will that take? At least we know what this one is, know your enemy sort of thing. And I just think this is just another symptom of a really bad coalition negotiation where Luxon got absolutely snookered by anybody that walked into that boardroom.
Yeah.
And I think we are seeing our version of what other countries are seeing, is that a government that knows that it is doing deeply partisan, unpopular stuff as quick as possible. Like, I'm talking about Trump's government here as well, but I think it just so happens that it's happening here as well. They are speed running as much bullshit as possible, knowing that a very small portion of the population, our chat, are going to notice. The rest of the public are going to go, I don't know, the vibes seem sussy on this for about 4 years until they wake up.
Yeah.
And by that stage, it's too late.
It'll be one of those instances where we're seeing like Latinos for Trump kind of going, hang on, this is not what we voted for. There'll be some.
I'm not in my house. I'm in a detention facility. How did that happen? Yeah, like it's just, what was that thing that Bannon said? Flood the zone.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much stuff. Like this is the reason why our long show's 90 minutes, right? There's so much stuff.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff. The RSB is an assault on everything. Our healthcare is being run into the ground so it can be piecemeal sold off. Public money funneled into the pockets of the already wealthy. Our housing is fucked. Homelessness fucked. Child poverty. All of these metrics, none of them going in the correct direction.
Let me wrap up this section with asking one philosophical question. It's kind of like if a tree falls in the wood and nobody's here to hear it, doesn't make any noise. What about this? How can you lose every negotiation in an office and still end up being prime minister? Like, how do you become prime minister whilst losing every negotiable point in the build up to becoming prime minister? It's just mind numbing.
You are talking about, as you said, Chris of Luxon, right?
Sir Chris of Luxon.
Sir Chris of Luxon. That's what he wants. Look, you go back to the noise about, before Chris Luxon had even left Air New Zealand. They soft launched him as a potential prime minister with nothing to earn it. It was just basically, he's been a New Zealand CEO. Cool. Why isn't Rob Fyfe prime minister then? You know, it was just, it was, the carpet got rolled out for him.
Yeah.
Like, he was always picked to be a national leader and a prime minister. He got parachuted into a nice safe spot. Everybody fucking got out of his way. There's not a piece of this job that he's fucking earned. And I think that's the thing that really annoys me, right? Like, even Key earned his role more than this guy did.
Yeah.
Like, it's just been gifted to him. And then you're like, maybe there's something that we haven't seen. That all of these people that know that he was coming into this position, they know him better. He's been in this job now for long enough to go, why did you guys think that this was the guy?
Yeah.
He hasn't earned anything.
But then if it wasn't him,
political
who's it
judgment
going to be?
is always wrong.
Who's it going to be?
Always wrong.
Collins
Like, you
again?
come at him with something difficult or he said something stupid, you need a day and a half for him to fucking work it out. And you'll do that publicly in the media. And still, how many knives are being sharpened in the National Party? How many hushed meetings are being had in the halls of, like, do we have the number to roll this guy yet? Like, it's... We are hanging so much hope on just really outside the box stuff. You know, is Winston going to blow up the coalition? Is Rimmer going to do something obscenely stupid that critically damages him? Is there going to be a spill in National? all of this is insane stuff. I want it to happen, but it's all insane, and it's just going to keep on rolling to the election.